I've been working on my game Adrenaline for around 5 months as of making this video, and I've decided to restart from nearly scratch. But I've learned a lot from those 5 months of working on my first commercial game, and I hope that by sharing my highs and lows, someone out there will learn from at least one of them, and maybe it'll even help them out on their own projects. So without further ado, this is 40 Minute Studios' 5 months of Adrenaline. The very first idea for Adrenaline was a lot different from the game I'm making today. I was in an elevator and I was just pondering how they're able to prioritize going to certain floors and picking up certain people all from a button press, and I thought I should see just how difficult this was to make myself. Being overseas at the time, I couldn't start on the idea, which just caused it to grow. What if there were little cities where NPCs wander around and take these elevators? What if there were cars too? How hard could this all be to make, I thought. So when I finally arrived back home, I started working on my newest game, Simulate a City, which looking back on it was definitely a Sims clone. I had already had a YouTube channel at the time, and I had released one game dev video before this one, which had already become one of the most popular videos on my channel. So I decided to start a devlog series on the game, which thankfully means I have a lot of footage to show now. I had never really worked on anything to do with random generation before the making of this game. So I started out with a simple grid system with a very mediocre model I had made in Blender. If the player object moved too far away from the old buildings, I would simply spawn a new one, which, like I said, is very simple. I added in some roads and tried to work on despawning the buildings if you go too far away from them, for performance reasons down the line. This is also pretty simple, and before long I had the very basics of my infinite city. Over the next few devlogs, I worked on things like adding in new models from a Cindy pack I had gotten, and improving the generation and despawning systems. This is when I had my next big change in the game, when I decided to completely switch paths and add in speedsters. If you can't tell, I really didn't have a cement plan as to what I wanted the game to be, and within a day I had switched from a simple city game to a superhero game, all because I wanted to run around the city as a... Being maybe a tiny little bit of a Big Flash fan, I wanted to run around this new randomly generated city as a speedster, and so for the next few devlogs, I was adding in a character controller based speedster character. I also had a flying character, and ideas quickly merged into one character, Lynn, who you can change between a number of powers with the gameplay being centered around a sandbox-style superhero sim where you can unlock upgrades over time as well as unlock new powers. It was around this time I made my Steam page, and it still looks the same today pretty much, as I've been having drastic changes in my game, and so it never really feels like it's solid enough to put it on the page, except for the main mechanics. The main unique feature of this game would have been Adrenaline, where the more you pull off stunts and do things that would build up adrenaline in real life, the faster you move and the harder you fight, etc. I really liked this idea and I hadn't seen it in many games at the time, so I was quick to add it in. This is when I first started noticing the cracks that were beginning to show, as I was adding in features for the sake of features, rather than adding them in because they were fun or made sense. There was some boring combat and some glitchy NPCs that I had hastily implemented through tutorials that, while being very well made and helpful, didn't fit my game very well, which is obviously my fault. I had also added in online multiplayer at the time using Steam matchmaking, however I was beginning to lose some motivation and I was wondering where the game was going to go until I got an invite to... Whilst it may have been an automated system, I was surprised and happy to see that I had been invited to a game competition called the Game Development World Championships, and I instantly thought this could be a good way to get some feedback on the state of my game and try and pull it back on track. Being well aware that I couldn't finish the game in this time, as submission was in about a month, I decided to make a PvP game mode with the new online multiplayer of my game. I opened up a Synthi scene I had gotten and hastily threw together systems for damage, respawning, and alternate powers, as well as voice chat. Please! I'm not gonna lie, I had a blast playing this mode with some of my friends, however I didn't enjoy making it. I was spending tens of hours a week working on this game mode to get it ready for the competition, and it wasn't even close to ready. So I decided to withdraw from the event and take a break, which is when I started thinking about the possibility of starting over. After coming back from the break, I really decided I wanted to change some things up. I didn't enjoy the game in its current state other than that one broken game mode, and I also had learned so much since starting that I was rewriting so many old scripts just to make them functional. This is when, with the help of my friends, I decided to start over, planning out just the game I wanted to make before starting on it, and making all components of the game flexible and as usable as possible. My new idea involved players who had been sent back in time to caveman days on a remote island. They must use their superpowers to fight bosses and save villagers throughout the island, and use their help to build up a village and get back to their time. These players will unlock new powers as their village expands, with each of their own specialized weaknesses and specialities. If there was ever a lesson to learn from this, it's that you should always plan out your projects before starting to put a lot of time into them, and this doesn't only apply to game development. A solid plan can help you in more ways than you think, and I wouldn't have been able to learn this without my friends and other members of the studio, DeBlazerBoy, Good For You, and iForGore, who you should all check out on the channel page of this channel. Thank you for watching.